Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitze. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitze podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Today's Silhouette of Success has had me smiling ear to ear as I have the honor of introducing her to you. And in her honor, I am wearing green. So if that is a little hint, pay attention because she is the epitome and talk about a role model. She's symbolic of everything that we all aspire to become from the time we're little girls. And I am thrilled to talk with her today. With her transformational leadership skills, outgoing personality, and all-in approach to serving, again, she embodies all of the skills, qualities, talents to help provide you thoughts of motivation, intentional inspiration that might help you get one step closer to your goals and dreams. So please help me welcome Jennifer Bartkowski, CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Girl Scouts of North Texas. Jennifer, hello and welcome.
Thank you, Amber. What a nice introduction.
Well, thank you for joining us and taking time to share your Silhouette of Success story. We are elated to have you here with us.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to get to talk to you. This will be fun.
Yeah, excellent. So, Jennifer, let's help illustrate the shaping of your Silhouette of Success for our audience by having you share a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I have 25 years of fundraising experience. I graduated from Texas A&M University, undergraduate and master's degree. My master's was actually in public administration with a focus on nonprofit management. So I'm actually one of those weird people that does what they studied. That doesn't happen all the time. And I went straight into the nonprofit sector. I worked for the American Lung Association. I worked for 2 different United Ways. I worked for a startup. I did some consulting. And then in 2009, I ended up at Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas. Most of my career has been in fundraising, connecting people to causes. But in the last 7 years, I have served as CEO of Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, getting to do some strategic visioning and shaping the future for this organization, which has been truly an honor for me, coming full circle as a Girl Scout when I was a little girl.
Well, that, of course, had to be a question of mine, right? So did you grow up and your journey to where you are now, did you participate? And so fantastic. Talk a little bit about your recollections as a young lady growing up in the Girl Scouts. Some fun memories.
Yeah, so I was a Girl Scout growing up. I was a Girl Scout through 9th grade. I earned my Silver Award. My mother was my Girl Scout leader. Her mother was her Girl Scout leader. My daughter was a Girl Scout, so that's 4 generations right there. I was the oldest of 5 children. 4 of us were girls, so we were all Girl Scouts, and we did not have a lot of money growing up, so I had to sell a lot of Girl Scout cookies to get to go to camp every summer, and I really wanted to go to camp to get away from my 4 brothers and sisters. So I remember selling a lot of Girl Scout cookies. I remember going to summer camp every summer and actually throughout the year. I was a Girl Scout in upstate New York and I was a Girl Scout in Austin, Texas. And quite honestly, it shaped a lot of my leadership qualities and values today. And it's been really fun coming full circle to get to lead the Girl Scout organization here in Northeast Texas.
So it's interesting because we think that our journey takes us sometimes on a deviated path, but it sounds like you have almost a legacy of the Girl Scouts and it's almost somewhat ingrained in your family.
It really was. It was such an
Yeah.
important organization to my grandmother, who felt like it was an opportunity to empower her daughters. My mother felt the same way. I mean, she invested a lot of time as a Girl Scout leader. I served as an assistant leader and as a cookie mom, which is a big job. And I think, it really was part of my growing up. It was part of expectations of my mother and her mother. And then when my daughter was ready to be a Girl Scout Daisy, it was something kind of nostalgic. I wanted her to get to be a part of something that was such a great sisterhood, but also I knew the leadership skills that I developed, the confidence that I got out of it. And I wanted that for my daughter. And quite honestly, I want it for the other 26,000 Girl Scouts that we serve here in Northeast Texas. So for me, it is a giant part of my life. I might not have realized that as an adult until I came back to Girl Scouts, but as I reflect back now, I definitely see the value that it brought to my life.
Isn't that amazing? Especially to be able to step back and really take a look and start maybe, you've got the columns of, oh, these are the skills and traits and leader that I developed. Or then you look back and you've got that time to reflect. You talk about the Girl Scout cookies, of course, it's such a staple, I think, in many of our upbringings. But what the girls learn in doing that, in the practice of standing out there and selling those cookies or going door to door or reaching out to different means, of course, these days. But the presentation skills, like you talked about, the confidence skills, all of those things.
I mean, that's right. There are 50 million Girl Scout alumni across the United States. And I challenge you to ask any successful woman what was the first time she ever sold something. And I promise you, she'll say she was a Girl Scout selling Girl Scout cookies. And you're absolutely right. Those young women are learning how to make the ask, how to set a goal, how to manage money. They learn about business ethics. They learn how to not take no for an answer. They learn how to answer hard questions. It's not just selling a product, but it's really shaping who they are. And I can remember, I often, share this story of my daughter, who's now 17 and a senior in high school. But when she was a 5 or 6 year old Daisy, she could hardly pay attention at a Girl Scout cookie booth long enough to do anything. She was hungry, thirsty, and had to go to the bathroom within like 5 minutes. Fast forward to when she was a 6th and 7th grader, she and I would go to a Girl Scout cookie booth and I wasn't allowed to talk. I'm the CEO and I want to say hello to every customer. And she was like, Mom, zip it. This is my cookie booth. And she would set it up and she managed the money and she answered the questions. And to watch her transform, just a totally distracted little girl, to a business owner was pretty monumental. And I think that's a skill that girls can't get anywhere else. And it stays with them for a lifetime.
I agree with you. And you get the chills or the goosebumps when you think about those things. But when you're able to observe, whether it's your own child or the young ones that you mentor or in your circle, or you observe, even if you don't know the child, it's just so impressive that they're able to do that.
It really is. And, the other thing that I think girls get out of Girl Scouts, whether it's selling cookies or going to camp or participating in STEM activities or learning how about healthy relationships or entrepreneurship or whatever it is they develop this sense of self, in an all girl environment that's really developed and designed for them. They develop a safe space to take risks. They learn how to say yes to things and how to fail sometimes. And, women oftentimes try to be perfect all the time. And perfect is not a good goal. We want our girls to learn how to fail and pick themselves back up and try again. And those are all things that we're teaching our girls every day in the Girl Scout experience. And they're not necessarily learning those same skills at school. So it's that social and emotional learning that's so important, particularly right now. So many of our girls have been at home for the last year or over a year now, and they haven't had the opportunity to practice that social and emotional skill building. And I just think it's incredibly important. I would venture to say it's as important, if not more important, than the academics that they learn and go on to the rest of their life with.
150% agree with you on that. I would say that not all of us were cut out for the academia life. Some of us paid life's tuition.
Yes.
So without having some of those opportunities within the Girl Scouts, I don't know that I would have the skill set or the foundational blocks, even maybe not realizing it, like you talked about earlier at the time. But looking back, you're right. I would be one of those that would be able to tie that back in that direct sale opportunity in getting out there. So that is so amazing. And you also talked about failing. And yes, we do have this somewhat I don't know, is it a phobia to admit our failures or to
Yes.
have those bumps and bruises? But what I've learned too, and again, I'm probably swiping this from somebody, is you fail forward.
Absolutely. And I will say I have had a career of failing forward. And, I think most leaders would agree. I certainly would say that my biggest learnings have been from failure. I've picked myself up and figured out how to go on. And I can remember a number of big successes in my life that were a result of multiple failures, where every time we had to adjust and do something different. And even as we think through this past difficult year of the pandemic and how, we went from everything being sort of normal to great uncertainty and what that's required of us as leaders. I mean, we've really had to kind of stumble through the last year to figure out what was needed of us. And I think there's been failures and successes and so much vulnerability that, we have to teach our girls that life is going to bring to us what it brings. And we have to be resilient and persistent and ready for whatever it is. And I think that's just a skill that must be taught for success.
Agree, agree. And it was really a skill that we were learning together, especially if you were confined in some nature together. And so it was probably an experience where they were able to see us as moms or role models vulnerable, as you mentioned. And that is where you really completely able to put that ego aside, because we were all learning together. And I know that I learned quite a bit. My daughter's 24, I have a son, but I learned quite a bit from her as well. And so that was pretty impressive to be at that level to where you're always learning from each other, no matter what age they are. Yes, I agree with you. So you talked a little bit about the lineage or the legacy of your grandmother and your mother and your siblings, but where do you think, or is that where your desire and drive to serve others and support your community, where does that come from for you?
I think it certainly probably comes from my family to some degree. I mean, my mom certainly loved the opportunity that Girl Scouts gave me to commit to community service and to give back to my community. But I can remember distinctly when I went off to college, I joined an organization in college that was sort of a co-ed community service organization. And I would do more than 100 hours of community service every semester. There was great fellowship and opportunities for service and leadership. And I did that for a number of years. And I, escalated in leadership and served as president of the organization. And going into college, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. Toward the end of college, I went to my advisor and I said, I really love what I'm doing. I love giving back to organizations. I love organizing people to give back. I love writing grants. I love telling the story about community service and how people can connect themselves to this impact in the community. I said, do you think that they would pay me to do that? And he said, yes, there's an entire career path in the nonprofit sector that will pay you to do that. And I had no idea. And that was really a turning point for me in my career. I went from really not knowing what I wanted to do. I mean, I'd always said I wanted to be a lawyer, but I think that was just something you say when you're a kid, to really having a passion and a focus for where I wanted to go with my career. And sure enough, when I graduated with my graduate degree, I went on to work for a small nonprofit organization doing both programs and fundraising. And I found out I had a love for fundraising because I loved connecting people's passions to needs in the community. And I've been doing that ever since. And through that, I've been able to develop skills in storytelling and raising money, a lot of money, and leadership and all kinds of things. And it's just been it's been a passion of mine. I'm honored to get to do this work. And I truly do love my career every single day. There are moments, of course, as in any job, where it's crazy and hard, but I do overall really love my job.
It's evident in your voice, in your passion, and just how you share, as you said, storytelling. It's an art, and you're lighting up the microphone. So that's fantastic. And that was a question that we were going to talk about, is what compelled you to pursue the career path that you're on? And you answered that so beautifully with only the way that you could.
I often consider myself, while I am the CEO of Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, I'm also the chief storyteller, because a big part of my job is to let people know what Girl Scouts is. We're more than cookies, camps, and crafts. We are an organization that is developing the next leadership pipeline for our community, and it's critical, essential work that we do. And I think I bring that to whatever role I play, is this opportunity to really connect the dots for people who may not completely understand what we're trying to accomplish, whether it's at Girl Girl Scouts or another organization. And that's probably my greatest love, is getting to really understand something and then communicate that passion that I have about that topic to someone else.
Well, and you were doing it. I tell you, you're almost, it's where you want to re-engage and have me go look into that again and maybe volunteer, do something, because you are doing it. Congratulations. So you're reaching me and many others immediately. So Jennifer, let's take a quick turn. So the alarm clock chimes, however that chimes for you, whether it's on your phone or whether you have the alarm clock, and the workday kicks off. Share with us a day in the life for you. Are you structured? Are you more of a, casual? Do you have a routine that is part of your CEO mentality? Talk to us about that.
Sure. Well, I'm an early bird, so I get up usually between 4 and 5 in the morning every day. I always have. I am far better at everything in my life in the morning than I am at night. So I get up early and I exercise. I do Camp Gladiator, so I do a boot camp and get that out of the way first thing in the morning, or it's not going to get done. And then I go and start working on. The first thing I usually do is clean my kitchen, and then I generally go start working on emails. I like to do writing and hard thinking, strategic thinking early in the morning when my brain is fresh. Usually about 8 o'clock in the morning, my meetings start. So in the past year, all of those have been virtual. Before that, I was driving into the office and usually had a full day of meetings with donors and partners and board members, staff, others in the community. Pre-pandemic, I was out of the office quite a bit. I was out having lunches and dinners and telling the Girl Scout story. Today, I'm still doing that, but stuck here at home at the moment. I have a daughter still at home. So my 17-year-old daughter still lives at home. My 20-year-old son is off at Texas Tech. So once I'm done with all my meetings and activities, then she and I spend some time together. We'll maybe have dinner together, go for a walk together. And then I will say in the last year, I've gotten far better at self-care, understanding the value of self-care. And so I usually try to take some time in the evenings to take a walk with the dog, or watch a TV show or read a book, something that is a little less strenuous on the brain, allows me to just have to take a time out. But my days are full, and I like them that way.
That's awesome. It keeps us on our toes.
Yes.
Keeps us on our toes and engaged. That is fantastic. So you shared what your day looks like. I wanted you to also share maybe in a little bit about the STEM program and what you were working on there. But we hear as women all of these wonderful accomplishments and achievements and what somebody else can fit in their day, and how, but you stop and you sit back and you look, how does she do it? And we all ask ourselves these questions about and so the audience would love to know, how does she do it? But do you have accountability in place? Do you set hard goals? How do you accomplish all of the amazing things that you have going on?
Quite honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but
that's the best, right? The truest answer right there.
That is the truth. I'm sort of on the tail end of some of this work-life balance as my children are graduating from high school, but I was there with everybody else when they were little, and I was balancing little kids and activities and work and family and all the things. And so I totally can remember those days. Someone told me early on, and I've always kind of lived by this, that there are days when I'm a very, very good CEO, and there are days where I'm a very, very good mother, and they are rarely on the same day. And that's okay. And one of the things I also learned early on is that I cannot do this alone. And I had a village of people who helped me be successful at all the things I had to do. So I had good friends in the neighborhood who would drive my daughter around to get her to her activities, or my son. I had friends and family who would stay with my kids when I had to be at an event at night, or my kids spent time in daycare because I couldn't always be at home. But quite honestly, as I look back and as I look at my kids today, I couldn't be more proud of who they've become, and they're social and they're independent and they're interesting people. And I think as I look back, many times when I felt guilt or when I felt I wasn't doing enough, I now realize I was doing everything I could, and my kids saw a person who is really trying really hard to be present in the most important moments, and they remember that and they value that. They also saw a woman who is trying to be successful in her career and who was successful in her career and who is leading organizations through challenging times, and they really respect who I was in that space as well. I don't think there's any secret, and I don't think balance exists for any one person. And I never think that my balance will work for any other person's balance. One of the things I learned early on is if I get up at 4 a.m. when my brain is fresh, I can be super productive. And I am one of the most productive people I've ever met. I'm very productive, but I don't make very good decisions after about 7 o'clock at night. So that's just not my time. And that's a better time for me to lay on the couch and snuggle with my kids than it is for me to be making work decisions. So, it's just, you have to figure out what the balance is for you. There are days when, you fall apart and it doesn't work and you got to pick up and go the next day. But I think that thing called mom guilt is something we should all let go of, because we're all doing our best and our kids are awfully resilient and our work will be there when we're done, and we can make it happen. And I'm so proud of myself and my friends and people I've watched figure out how to do it. It's not easy, but it's possible.
Oh, you hit on so many points. I'm taking notes, feverishly taking my notes, of course. But the mom guilt is massive. And
it's real.
Thank you for, pointing that out. And we reflect back on that, whether it's in the moment, whether it's horrible.
It's horrible.
It is horrible, but you're right. And when our children might not realize it in their moment, when we aren't present, or when we maybe have to cancel or postpone something they were looking forward to, you again hit the nail on the head that they are resilient. And I would venture to say they are way more observant and more understanding. And then when they look back and, like you said, they watched you and all of the different things that you were accomplishing and dedicated to and passionate about. And that, to me, helps build our children just from that observation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think my kids are just really proud of me. And I think that in the end, they got the best of me and they got the best of everything else our community had to offer them. So, I get it in the moment. There's a ton of mom guilt, but you just have to know that if you're doing the best that you can, your kids are going to know that and they're going to be just fine. We are all fortunate to have whatever kind of community we have, whether it's our family or friends or what have you. We're none of us want to let anybody else down. We're gonna be there for each other.
Collaboration, teamwork.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. What positive adjustments have you made in your life or environment to help support your growth, dreams, or goals?
I think a couple of things. I have taken, I lead the largest girl leadership organization in the world and lead it here in Northeast Texas. So I have a commitment to myself to also always being on a leadership journey. So I participate in a number of leadership programs. I read a lot of leadership books, always trying to be a better leader myself and making adjustments along the way. A leadership program that I'm in right now, I started last April, conveniently right as COVID was starting. And it couldn't have been better timing because it really challenged some of my old leadership constructs and the ways I thought about leadership. And that was a good thing because COVID forced me to think differently about leadership. And one of the things it forced on me was really thinking differently about self-care. I have always been a very productive worker. I can power through a lot of stuff. But, during the pandemic, I lost a lot of that capacity to power through. I think, like a lot of people, I was more tired than usual. I had, certainly challenged with anxiety and, just all the things that were coming at us, all the uncertainty that was coming at us. And it just makes you exhausted all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And so I really spent a lot of time this past year learning to find the things that make me restful. So getting outside, walking, reading fiction books was something I hadn't done in years. And I found that was an escape I really missed. And so I've added that back to my life as a very deliberate way to rest my brain. I'm not much of a TV watcher, but during the last year, I picked up some fun, easy to watch TV shows that just let my brain rest for 30 minutes or an hour. And I know some people think that's wasted time. I actually think that was deliberate time in my mind. Other things like that, spending very present time with my kids has been a real focus. And honestly, a big thing that has added to my self-care is spending time with close friends, friends that accept me for who I am, not necessarily as the CEO of Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, but people I've known for 30 years since I was in college who are just the greatest people. And those kinds of spaces, safe spaces where I can relax and be myself, are really the best. And so I've made some of those changes in my life over the many years, not just this past year, but to really find the way that I can be supported so that I can be successful.
And we need you rested. We need you rested. But that is so critical. And you're right. There's a lot of lemonade in my picture that came from the lemons that were, thrown our way. I just have to say, if I put it in a tally column, I think I would have a lot more pros than cons, if I were being honest about everything.
And I think, there are a lot of things I worry about out of COVID, right? I mean, I worry a lot about our girls who are suffering from anxiety and mental health challenges and lack of social and emotional learning and the academic slide, all the things that I worry about. I used to try to convince people how important getting outdoors was. And I think maybe I'm done convincing people. I think they believe it now.
Yeah.
And I think people really understand more about value of family and the value of taking care of yourself. I mean, there's just things, and the fact that we maybe are starting to dig into that stigma about mental health, right? Being able to really freely talk about our mental health situation. Those are all positives that are coming out of this pandemic. And I'm grateful for that. And I think from an individual perspective or even a global perspective, there are definitely positives. But that said, I'm super hopeful for the future and some semblance of normal in the not too distant future.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we are going to take a quick sponsor break, Jennifer, and then we'll be right back.
Is it time to sell your home? Build that dream home? Right size? Or are you ready to invest in real estate? Couture Real Estate Firm is a local female-owned independent brokerage laser-focused on services exclusively tailored to our clients' real estate goals. With our forward-thinking business model, we have a fully mobile luxury real estate concept allowing convenience, flexibility, efficiency for our clients in style. Amber Weitze, broker-owner of Couture Real Estate Firm, has over 20 years in the real estate industry and is a second-generation broker. She provides straightforward business practices, integrity, and intelligence with a commitment to a high-touch, consistent customer service experience. We take great pride in our reputation as a strong, referral-based brokerage. Discretion, tenacity, respect, and proactive business practices have earned Couture Real Estate Firm a loyal, repeat client business with a trusted global partner network. We strive for ultimate client satisfaction with successful results, doing it with class, consciousness, and a little avant-garde. In addition to serving our clients and vendor partners, we are extremely honored to be actively engaged in supporting the communities we serve by promoting small businesses, schools, and nonprofits. Real estate is direct sales business at its core, and we are highly trained sales professionals with the Mike Ferry organization, adding dimension to the industry. Passionate about customer service, dedicated to client satisfaction, and driven to achieve successful results for our clients. Call Couture Real Estate Firm today at 817-233-7239 to discuss your real estate goals.
All right, Jennifer, we are back. So something that we like to talk about next is, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you are now doing a lot more self-care. And so we're going to take a look at what that looks like and maybe some of your favorites. You've mentioned books. So that would be one of the questions. We always like to share fantastic resources that will uplift and inspire and motivate the audience. So do you have any favorite books, podcasts, resources, or anything authors that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, goodness. Off the top of my head, I will say, so I've been trying to read a lot of fiction, and I was trying to see if I have any of those sitting right here, but I unfortunately do not have any, but I like to read things that are just light and easy. So I've done some of that this year. In fact, I read like 6 books over the holiday season. I just sat on the couch and just read. But I also read a lot of leadership and business books. One that had a big impact on me this year is called Playing Big by Tara Moore. And it's a book about how to really access your inner mentor and think really big about your future. And I keep going back to that book. It's been a great one for me. I also, because I've been taking long walks, been listening to a lot of podcasts. And so I've listened to some Brene Brown and some other great podcasts like that. Right now, I'm listening to Dolly Parton's America, which is super fun.
Yes. Oh, she's amazing.
She's amazing. Whenever I get put on the spot with books and other things, I always clinch up. But there's been a number that have been kind of fun for me this year.
Well, they all sound fantastic. And of course, we like to always include those in our resources so the audience can dive into any of those that might intrigue them. So thank you. Jennifer, what inspires you or feeds your soul? We've talked a little bit about relaxing and unwinding, but a little bit deeper than that.
I mean, I would say there's a couple things. First, I would say the opportunity to make a difference is something that not only inspires me, but it powers me, right? This opportunity to make the future better for girls, the opportunity to make a difference. I mean, I go into work every single day believing that I can and that me and my team get to make the world better. I think about it, for instance, with our STEM Center of Excellence. This was an idea that no one in the country had. We implemented it first of its kind, 92-acre, $15 million campus where girls can explore STEM. And it's committed to changing the workforce pipeline for North Texas. And I love this opportunity to just do something that no one else has ever done before to make the world a better place. And that definitely inspires me. I'm also inspired by other women who are doing great things, in other industries and other places. I love watching women support women. I think that's very inspiring to me. I have made a commitment over the last few years to find small groups of women who can give me that inspiration. I have a group of women in my current leadership class who are all over 50 like me. There's about 5 of us, and we're called the Fabulous 50s. And we meet every couple of weeks and just meet for an hour virtually and just talk about what's going on in our world. And that really inspires me. I have another group of CEOs from other Girl Scout councils that gets together regularly, and we share experiences. And it's another group that just keeps me fueled gives me kind of that energy that I need to keep going. So, I think it's my career, it's the people in my world, it's of course my family and my kids inspire me and push me forward. So it's all those things.
Oh, amazing. Love it. Love it. Good for you. It's been so fun talking with you. The first time I was able to really see you and meet you, there was an immediate draw to you. You just have that personality and just that energy that you want to know more and be around you. So thank you. This has been truly inspiring for me as well. But as we wrap up our visit and keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration, is there one piece of key go-to advice that you'd like to share with the audience that maybe you've held on to throughout your journey or something that you share? Is there a key piece of go-to advice?
Yeah, the piece of advice that probably has had the greatest impact on me came, and I'll tell a little story about it. When I became CEO of Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas in 2014, I was the succession plan after a CEO who had resigned to move on to a new career opportunity. And she was very charismatic and just really well known and beloved and was a great public speaker. And she resigned and I was going to be the CEO following her. And those were big shoes for me to fill. And I was feeling very anxious about it. Like I didn't know if I had it in me. I was definitely feeling that imposter syndrome about whether or not I was enough for this position. And a mentor, a woman at AT&T, called me and she said, Jennifer, I need a few minutes with you. So we had a phone call and she said, Jennifer, you will never be a very good that person. You need to be the best Jennifer Bartkowski you can be. And that's what this organization needs from you. And basically what she was telling me is that I needed to be the best me that I could be. That's the best I could bring to this organization and to this community. And it just was something that just shook me. It was at that moment that I was like, oh, I bring my own set of skills. I bring my own qualities that are going to make this organization better and me fit this position in the best way possible. And so when I meet young people, when I meet women that I mentor, I always tell them, don't try to be someone else. You're going to be a terrible somebody else. You have to go out and be the very best you that you can be. So take effort to figure out what are your strengths, where are your opportunities for growth, and go find the way to be the very best you that you can be. And sure enough, I found that after about a year at the organization as CEO, what I brought to the table was exactly what the organization needed. And me always striving to be the best me is making our organization move forward and making me a better leader.
That's perfect. That is so perfect. And what a blessing that she called you. And wow, because the world needs you. The world needs all of our audience to be their authentic self, and don't hold back and don't try to compete. Just give us your gifts and talents and experiences, because there is no one else like you. So I am so grateful that happened for you as well. So as we close out, where can our audience go to find you, perhaps on your socials, or support you in your continued success, or the Girl Scouts?
Well, you can learn more about Girl Scouts at GSNETX.org. I am on Facebook. I'm a little bit on Twitter at GenB92. But you can certainly find us at Girl Scouts, and we would love to connect.
Fantastic. Jennifer, it's been a complete joy and honor. Thank you once again for sharing your time with us, the depth of your experience, and your Silhouette of Success story.
Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
Thank you. Have a great day, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out, and join us for all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. Amber would love to hear from you, and you can find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or head over to amberweitzer.com. Let's connect. Help us all shine and leave us a review too. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at amberweitzer.com. We are honored, humbled, and full of joy that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.